Gents, all I'm going to say is not only are we world champions, but last week you guys had a laugh at me for my prediction. And the Springboks were like, fuck that.
Yeah.
They also had a laugh at it and topped it by more than double.
Fuck. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's something no one could have predicted. Not that scoreline, for sure.
Yeah, that was. I think the scoreline in like if you're dominant enough, like you can expect that. Like Australia blew out like that and stuff, but it's a final, so you don't expect it, and we didn't expect to dominate that much up front. I don't think anyone could have said, "Listen, it was a no-brainer. We would have done that to them up front." I don't think you could have, and I've never seen a scrum like that ever.
Scrumming was ridiculous.
Insane.
Really.
And we gave them one, so they had something to talk about.
Yeah.
False hope.
Yes.
Sort of
That's
that
when you
false.
just like toying with someone.
That
you know,
false
like
hope.
dangling the carrot.
Insane.
Dan Cole didn't know that he was on the fucking rugby field at one stage.
Massive.
I think he was asking where am I? It was turning around.
It's a career end of that, but interesting chats I've seen about. It's the second time Eddie Jones has fallen into this trap by not having a specialised tight head. I think Dan Cole's slightly retreaded. I didn't check up too much about it, but it was more about prop and lock in terms of having them more specific. So
I think it's more the lock that was playing there. Obviously,
Laws
was benched.
No,
Cruz was benched, and he's normally. They say he would have been probably the better fit for Coles.
Listen, you can say after
It's
that
ifs,
game,
buts, whatever.
after that
I
game,
think
you
whatever we faced that day, we would have steamrolled.
Yeah,
100%.
If you look at the way we played, and everyone,
100%.
I thought everyone did well. Willie, I think he listened to us. He did his basics.
Yeah.
He did basics. He went on a
ball, did a little bit of
He had a bit of a run
in the beginning. He went on a run, and you see gave Colby whooshes, and then he managed to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And but other than that, he didn't put a foot wrong. So
In the first few minutes, he goes in a little wraparound
He did
run,
a
and
little
he's like, he's through the
I
gap.
thought, I must be honest, Damien was in a phenomenal position then, and then he went on a little bit more. But I thought, I was trying to think how I'm going to word it and what the best way is to put it, because like what Rassie did with those players that in mostly not mostly, but a lot of people's eyes, like the Faf, Pollard and Villy thing, we were having a go at them the whole time, and Rassie had a plan and trusted in what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, and all of them slowly built. I think Faf and Pollard were definitely much better in the semi-final, and then they grew again in for the final. I think Willie did his stuff and kind of cruised through, but I think the best way of putting it is like that entire squad all grew and played above themselves in the last two games, where I think that the others were their sort of rate of growth was a little bit smaller. Like they were a little bit. But Willie didn't make an error, and he added quite a bit of value, and Faf made better decisions. I thought kicking was obviously one of the big things, the accuracy and the amount. And then Pollard, after missing that first kick, a little bit worried.
That had me worried, yeah.
He didn't worry about it at all. He just was like, cool, got this.
It almost felt that like there was more focus after that kick. Like
I think he knew because of the way we were scrumming.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to have another 5, it's okay.
I just got to make sure the second one doesn't go wide. And
Yeah.
I mean, the first one dropped 10 short of the post.
And he missed a kick to touch.
Yeah, great piece of play to keep that in.
Unbelievable, but Pollard, I don't want to harp on that, but Pollard, he falls into that trap. You understand it's a final, the adrenaline gets you, and you want to just give it that extra 3-4 meters matter. And
rather just make sure.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone who don't understand, and I know like Willie doesn't do it often, like he doesn't kick for touch, and things like that often, but like I always find it strange when you've got a left-footed player on the field who is a fullback who should be able to at least kick a ball for touch. When a side favours the left footer, why not just you might not get the same distance, but at least it favours him and it's most likely going to be out. You know what I mean? And listen, it's all ifs and buts, but it's just rugby in general. I wonder why sometimes it's just that doesn't get used a lot.
So you know what I'm loving. I'm loving that we've won the World Cup, like obviously, but I'm loving how we are looking at ways of making things better and like looking ahead
really
and trying to.
but also really nitpicking because
But it's great because we can get better,
Yeah.
and that's what's flipping amazing.
You
Like
get
we're on
those
such an upward curve at the moment.
You get those little things right, and all of a sudden your consistency goes even like.
And it
goes
helps
through the
so
roof.
much by not having to go back to the drawing board like
Yeah.
a lot of other teams have to do often after big tournaments. We can now go, boom, this is solid. Whoever comes in as a new coach has something to work off, and I'm sure he's going to work very closely with Rassi, and then you can just improve on the smaller things.
I think that's what we've spoken. Well, Rassi's talked about a lot. It's like, just because we win the World Cup doesn't technically mean we're the sort of best team in the world. Yes, we are the world champions, but to be the best team in the world, you've got to be the most consistent team in the world as well. And we're all, hands down, will say New Zealand's by far the most consistent team in the world. So I think that's something we have to look at. We've got to be consistent next year. For the next 2 years, it's got to be some sort of consistency. And like you said, there's a base. And I don't mind nitpicking little bits, because that nitpicking will, if we get those little things right, the whole package just becomes so much better. And I think a few months ago, or even a few years ago, we weren't even nitpicking. That it was just a disaster. Wherever you looked, it was a fuck up.
Yeah.
And we've got a set base in the scrum, line out, set, or just look at our whole set piece. It's just wonderful at the moment. We can get better in the back line, we know that. But I think going forward, success is going to be a big thing. And I think whoever joins the successor is going to be quite vital going forward.
Who's your picks to take over?
There's a lot there. So Dion Davids is definitely in the mix. Like we've got to know and understand that, as much as like I wasn't happy with it, but I know that he's been in the setup with the under-20s and with Rassi and a few things, and then prior to the World Cup as well. I thought Swace might be a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think Akers, we spoke about a little bit before this. I think Akers maybe a little bit on. Personally, I think I'd really like John Plumtree to get a look in. You know, he's not that foreign to us as a foreign coach because he spent so much time here. I know that Johan van Kraan was mentioned.
But with Plum also, like, being in the New Zealand setup at the moment, when it comes to the canes and stuff like that, it might, I don't know if that's really going to. We don't know how involved he is in that setup. He's
definitely got to be in the mix. They've definitely got to be. He's got to be in those conversations, and I'm not talking about them as like their senior like panel, whatever. Like he will definitely be in their conversations with them. They'll definitely be talking to him. I reckon they want to keep him there, and I reckon that if we go hard at it now, that maybe we will. Obviously, yesterday the news broke that Jacques Ninoba was in the running. It's quite interesting. Like, has he taken up a head coach role before anywhere? No, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't. I'm almost like 100% sure like that he hasn't. He's been with Rassi for so long. Personally, I think that Rassi, he'd be the great connect between Rassi and the books and stuff like that, and they all speak in the same language, and then they will go together and then work with the under-20s while the books are not in camp before the under-20 world champs, and they would go, like the way I see Rassi and Jacques Ninoba working together is going through and helping the Super Rugby sides and the under-20s and all that sort of jazz, the women's, and potentially even going and spend some time with the sevens to learn a bit there and maybe
more of a
add a bit of value.
consultant, really.
Yeah, and that sort of mobile unit, that Moby unit that we had. But having him at the book setup wouldn't be the worst, but I think Rassi will have a little bit more hands-on there. So I don't know. I just know that like the decision that Rassi made to take over at his director of rugby as a full-time thing wasn't made yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
It was always going to happen.
But he said that anyway before the World Cup.
Yeah.
He said he's going to just finish the World Cup.
And he would have been putting plans in place way before that already, you know. So yeah, I don't know exactly who. I would really like John Plumtree, and I also last night I mentioned Robbie Deans.
I like Robbie.
I quite like him, but listen, Eddie
Someone
Jones
like
is
that.
going to be free in 2 years. Michael Chake is currently free, but I don't know if he would fit well. He's going to Montpellier as far as I know. Joe Schmidt is free, but I don't think that he'd be in the mix. Gatland
He's
got the Lions, but there's opportunity there. But oh no, he can't take us and the Lions. So to be fair, that didn't make. But they were talking about coaching another country.
I also don't think we'll veer away too much. I don't think we're gonna. I don't think Rassie will veer away too much, like from sort of someone that knows South African rugby. I think that will be quite a big factor in,
especially right now, because we've sort of got a bit of a formula going that's now obviously proven to work. And it'll be stupid to bring in someone that's just going to uproot all of that and change it again completely.
We talk about the complexities of rugby in this country, and everything. You got to look at politically everything in this country. There's quite a lot of complex sort of things in the sport and in society, and I think it's sometimes very difficult for a foreign coach that doesn't know about it at all to get put into the situation and sort of yes, Rassie,
it's a whole bunch of extra things on your plate above, just.
I think that's why someone like Otis Gibson
and stuff
has actually struggled a little bit in the cricket sense. I don't think he's a terrible coach. I just think that he struggled in that sense where he didn't really realise the complexities of sport in this country. That's why I think, like you're saying, Plumtree is probably the perfect person to have, because he's been in the setup. Been in this country for a while. He was at the Sharks for many years, so he understands it, and he's not a new face to SA Rugby. I mean, he's on the panel for SuperSport at times, all these things. So I think if it's foreign, it's going to be a foreign coach that has ties, sort of certain ties here, or understands the fabric.
Plum and Nick Easter, who's back in England. They use other Sharks as well.
Yeah,
I think the bonus is that Rassie is solely responsible. Well, not solely, but I'm telling you now, he has a lot of clout if he's not solely responsible for signing off who the head coach is, and I'm fairly confident he will be. I think that's important. So we need to get a big personality in. You'd need a big personality as head coach, but you obviously don't want someone that's going to be a little bit abrasive with your director of rugby or anyone that's in the mix already. So Ninaba was mentioned yesterday. Maybe it makes sense for a couple of years,
just for continuity.
To kind of integrate through maybe Mzwandile stick, and
if you have a Davids that comes into the system,
foot will be, and Davids perhaps comes in, and the guys are in the mix, and they spend another 2 years there, and then we start that whole thing, and that word that I mention all the time, that phrase is succession planning, and the stuff that we've been lacking because we just overhaul everything every single time. And now we're going to start having a bit of continuity, and come the next World Cup, we've got 6 years of it. We haven't had 6 years of the same in forever. Like the closest we got to that was Jake White, and it was 4 years, and then after that was Heineke Meyer, and it was 4 years of the same, but it was 4 years of horse car.
I think also we don't like to sort of say that we want to follow New Zealand's footsteps in every certain way, but I think if there's one thing that the All Blacks do really well is they always look within when they appoint the successor to the All Black coach, and I think that's something I'm a massive fan of in all sports. Is if you've got someone that's been taking you for Hansen, what was 8 years, maybe was it 8? Yeah, 8 years. So you got Hansen, but before that he was 12 years in the setup, 4 years assistant coach, 8 as head coach. So you just got that same sort of production that's coming through, and I think
the key is just that handover phase, like you said, is if it's someone within the current setup, Rassie's obviously going to have to be a little bit more hands-on,
of course,
for a year or two, and then
I think
it's the same.
It's also going to
same language. It's the same setup.
Yeah.
The players have a different face in front of them. but they have got the same stuff. Like, what's cracking.
Yeah.
And he did say that it was going to take 3 years for Ninova's defensive setup to work properly.
Yeah.
And we're 2 years into that, so we've got another year before we're 100% waxed on the defensive side of things. There's still a lot of work
I
to
thought
be
it
done.
worked pretty well against England.
Well, look at it. If he's giving the team talks or whatever, you're going to have no South African playing going, I've never, I don't know. This
Yeah, who's this guy?
whatever.
Yeah.
They've spent, 18, 20 weeks together. And so
And we're a young side, eh?
very.
Us in England, I think, are realistically in terms of like tier one side, I think us in England have the youngest sides at the currently, like the squad that went to the World Cup. We've got the chances of England and South Africa fielding a majority of their squad in the next World Cup are fairly good. Just chatting about the pack and stuff. I was actually thinking, honestly, I'm not talking about the World Cup squad. I'm just talking about players that are good enough and in the mix. We could honestly have 3 full packs that we could field at almost any test match. Like, obviously you want to make chops and changes, but we have enough locks, enough loosies and enough props. We might be lacking a little bit from a hooker's point of view, because
there are 1 or 2 good talents coming through, and especially cheaters have got Dweber and
still got to come in the mix. Dweber, then now we've got 3, 100%.
Yeah.
We've got Mnami, Marks, Dweber, just off the top of our head. Dweber should get a look in sometime soon. I think I wouldn't mind seeing Chair back in Oxen Chair have a little look see.
There's a lot of if they develop right, and if they get they get thrown in the setup and understand the setup and get worked, like Proudfoot and Jock and everyone's working with them, they're gonna improve themselves anyway, and then you've got an extra name in every position in the spot.
It's crazy.
I think the only place we're probably lacking, and we're talking about a little bit, is probably 8.
Yeah.
And number 8, when Dwayne goes, there's no real standout 8. I think that goes, he's the direct replacement for Dwayne. But other than that, that pack is pretty well looked after.
Okay, so I do want to have a chat about this 8 thing. So Whiteley's still in the mix. Let's make sure that everyone's fit. Okay.
Yeah.
Whiteley's still in the mix. Kwagga, I don't think would be the long-term option at Bulk 8, but he still could do a job there. Then I was trying to think now, Buthelezi at the Sharks, but he's still very young.
Yeah.
He plays mostly 8, doesn't he? Played 8 for the under-20s, and I know he plays flank.
Look at what JL.
But okay, and so there's another. I purposefully didn't look too much into them because they're overseas, but they're 100% in the mix. Okay, so Jean-Luc, Whiteley, Kwagga, and then Pepsi. Is it Pepsi Buthelezi? It is.
Yeah.
So Buthelezi is definitely post Lions tour, or maybe in the mix beforehand, like pre next World Cup. But Jean-Luc could probably be the best shot right now. I'm sure we're forgetting someone, or I am. Don't know.
Aka's son, he's not really at 8.
Ruan Akamani is quite handy at 8. I would love.
But he would need to get into the mix first.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, if
Elstad we spoke about, but I prefer Elstad to be on the side.
But if you look at that team, we've got numbers everywhere else.
Going back again to New Zealand, that's what they've always had.
Yeah.
Is as soon as someone steps out or just gets injured or whatever, they're being replaced by someone that's just as good. Yeah.
I think the next 4 years, if the one thing we possibly need to work on, not just player-wise, but I think just developing that side of our game is now that backline. We really need to start developing that backline a little bit better. And I'm not saying the way we're playing the game is wrong, doing the back and the big ball carrier, but I think we just need to bring some more variation into that backline. But it also, you need players to bring in variation as well. Because if you're going to bring in like for like, you're not really going to have variation in a way. And I think there's certain position, if you look at, if something had to happen to Damien and to you can't look Frans Steyn just because of his age at the moment, but for the next World Cup, you're going, who's their direct replacements? And I think that is I don't think we can throw names around, some guys that are playing in Europe and everything, but we need to get them, if there are options,
We need
they
to get them in the setup and see what they do.
and see what they can do. And I think that's how I would like to see evolve in the next 3 years, 2 to 3 years now, going into the next World Cup, which is obviously 4 years away. But in the next 2 years, really start defining what our backline's going to do, and upskilling it a little bit.
So I think from a 12 point of view, we've obviously got Pollard that can play there, because Willemse, I think we'll see a little bit more of Willemse at 10 for the Boks in the future. I think we'll see a lot more of him at 10. I think he will give us more at 10 than at 15. I think in terms of long term, I'm not sure, but there will be options to look at there. I think Jesse Creel stays at 13. So I don't know if he'll be able to make the next World Cup. I don't see why not. He will be a little bit long in the tooth then, but I think between and Creel, I think we're pretty comfortable there. Colby on the right wing, I think he stays. I think Corsi stays. They're both young
as well.
Mapimpi is not going to make the next World Cup. I think he's like 30 or 28 or something. He's the older. I just want to say I'm gutted that we didn't get him sooner. I'm gutted he couldn't break in sooner, because he would break and smash the cuck out of records. But I think he's going to hang around. I think he will stay for as long as he physically can. I don't think it's going to be a case we're going to start blooding you guys in there. I think we need to keep him, and he must stay. And he deserves all the time that he gets there.
And then 15 is
a very interesting.
A lot of people will say, like, by that time Warwick Gelant should really be making the jersey his own in like 2 years' time, or a year's time, 2 years' time.
So we spoke about how long it takes him to get going. So now's that time.
Yeah.
Then we've got Bosch.
Yeah.
And we've got Apelele Fassi.
Yeah.
Now Apelele Fassi.
Well, he'll have to. Yeah.
But we've got options to cover there before we move into the next World Cup. Like, bring Fassi in. If Fassi carries on growing the way that he has with the Sharks and how he's playing, he's flipping insane. He's got a massive boot. He's deadly as anything with ball in hand, and he's got a good high ball. So I would really like to see him in the mix.
I actually think he will be in the mix in the next.
And then Willemse could always cover there, and then you move Pollard into 10, and then you shuffle a little somewhere else, maybe, I don't know. But we do seem to have options. There's no doubt in my mind that Delendi and stay as 12, 13 for as long as physically possible for both of them. So we have to manage and rest them a little bit. Damien's played a shit ton of rugby, so has Lucanio. And both of them have come off injuries. A longer one than Damien. But I think we need to just manage that a little bit better. We've got the option to have Jesse Creel in the mix, which allows us to rest. We've got Esterhuizen still going. Rowan Jans van Rensburg's just come back from fitness.
He's playing well.
So, we've got guys there. It's just, are they good enough to take that step up? The difference now is that the guys are, like, they know that they are playing second fiddle, and they have to play their ass off to get there.
Which is also, again, not a bad problem to have.
Scrum off?
I think we've got options, because as much as Faf is technically still young,
I think he'll make the next World Cup.
Yeah, and you've got Herschel Yankees around.
Okay.
At that time, you will have him around, and your third one, who knows? Look how quick.
Reiner can give us another World Cup.
If so, brilliant. We've got 3 already, but then again, you don't know what's coming through the ranks. I mean, a year ago,
Sharks.
Most of us didn't even know who Herschel Yankees was.
Sharks 2 9s that played under 20s.
That kid that plays under 20s for the Sharks.
I can't think of his name now. He's very handy.
Who played the World Cup?
Yeah,
Junior
both
World
of
Cup.
them were Sharks.
Also,
players.
that loose forward from the Sharks. The blonde kid.
Oh,
yeah, Richardson or something.
He's a hooker and a Lucy as well.
Something like that. But he was phenomenal in the Junior World Cup. I mean, there's another guy.
See, he's got to play loose forward. He's not a hooker for me. Not unless he needs to grow like taller.
But if he develops, there's a kid that's come through.
Yeah.
I mean, he was.
You're fine for locks. Surprise, surprise.
Another guy's going to be interesting. I actually just thought about him now at number 8, and he's a youngster. He's come through the junior setups and everything. Is Augusto? How does he?
Joano Augustus.
How does he develop the next few years?
So he was World Under 20 Player of the Year 3 years ago.
Yeah.
he has struggled a little bit with injuries and stuff. And I won't lie, being in province is probably not the greatest space for him.
And also in the fact that if you look at the players that he's had to play again, so Super Rugby season, he's got Sia, Peter, Steph de Toy, and he was playing 8th man for the Stormers this year most of the time. Wasn't Noche was still there?
Noche's at the Sharks now.
No, but he was there during the time, and then you had, I'm missing someone. But anyway, so he was almost like a third choice all the time, or a second choice.
But he didn't even get a proper look in at Super Rugby. He didn't even make like benches. Like Noche was the one that was struggling to make the bench and then getting a look in. So I'm just
saying age-wise and what he's come through.
He's had the basics. He's good shape for age-wise. He needs something. But there's something where I might see Rassie saying like, you need to go somewhere else, or you need to fight your way in, but go somewhere because you need to play, because we need to use
look at you,
because he's the perfect Vermeulen mold to take
100%. And that's why I actually thought of him, because listen, if you're making world junior player of the year or whatever, that you don't just get
something
that,
there. Yeah.
the type of names that have won that award is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you don't just get it just for having, a good game or something like that. So you can see the pedigree is there. It's just now
the important thing is managing that going forward. Like you said, is maybe not signing for the biggest club or whatever, but rather going somewhere else where you're going to play.
Yeah. Cheetahs might actually be a great thing for him.
I'd say yes. I don't think since the Cheetahs joined the Pro 14 they've had a guy selected for the Springboks.
Yeah, I understand.
I think that'll change now, to be honest. I really do. Like, I think Dwebe and Chair alone are making waves, and Ron Pienaar, but not as a guy to be called out for the Boks. But like everyone's starting to have a little look-see. And
but it's a place I reckon he could play weekend.
Their 8 at the moment is very handy, massive ball carrier. But if he gets game time and he gets a look in somewhere, it's quite... Didn't really prepare too much for this discussion about replacing the guys, because I know we're definitely missing. I know that we're missing.
We're probably missing quite a few, and one or two obvious guys, I reckon. Yeah. So as well, but you've got to look that way. I think from now on, we're on the high that we've won, but I think the reality is also setting in that we're losing a coach, even though we're not really losing him, but we are losing him. And we are going to lose one or two big players. And
who's not going to make the Lions tour? Scott Brits.
Yeah, he's gone.
The Beast could potentially make it, so he's a question mark. But I reckon that he's.
Even Dwayne are question marks for me.
Dwayne,
and it's not the fact that they're not good enough. It's just the fact that I don't know if.
It's a question mark. It's a question mark. I'm just like the rest of the guys are young enough to do it. I mean, Sia's definitely in, Peter Toy is definitely in, and I'm talking about age-wise and like physically being able to do it. Every single one of our backline are all very, very much in the mix. Like
even the replacements on the backline, you look at like Alton and Pollard and all three Scrumovs and whatever. So like they're all in. It's basically just So you reckon Evan is in the mix, but...
Yeah, I'm just saying question mark wise in terms... I'm telling you now, we'll still see quite a little bit more of Elton Jantjies, especially with our pack being this dominant, because I won't change this, he's still one of our best attacking 10s we have. And obviously with our 6-2 split, it definitely hindered him being on the bench, because we needed a 9 and we needed someone more versatile. Yeah. So I think when we go back to... Francie.
Will he make Lions tour? I don't think so either.
It'll be another shot. It'll be another shot. So I still think we're going to see quite a fair bit more of Elton, and I think what will happen is maybe Pollard might take a little bit of a back seat or take 12. Elton starts, and then Willemse will come in off the bench or start at 15 and then shift. So I still think we're going to see. I think people are not going to like that Elton Jantjie is still in the mix, and it's going to be really but he attacking wise is phenomenal with the front football that we are going to be getting. I struggle to see how people are going to actually dominate us in the scrum. If you look at, we've got Goboka, Kitsov, and the beast. However,
Trevor
which
got
order
injured.
which order you want to wangle that, okay? Because those are loose heads. Tight heads, we've got Nyakane, Malherbe, who could be around for a while still, because that properly put his hand up this World Cup, right? Like Malherbe,
Our athlete.
Thomas du Toit, he athleted himself like a champion. Do you know that he missed one tackle in the World Cup final? He made 11. And the one that he did miss, funny enough, I went to go and have a look for it. I found it by accident, but then I saw it was him, because I was actually trying to explain to my mates what is defined as a missed tackle versus a made tackle.
Yeah.
And especially when there are two players involved. So like, what is a tackle assist and class as a missed tackle? And I actually found one where Malherbe fell off, like he went in, made the tackle, got the knees, and then fell down. And the guy and as he the guy stepped out of it, and as he made that step, Faf hit him. So it was a great example, and I got lucky with it, but it was something. It wasn't a major missed tackle. So Faf making a tackle was pretty important. I mean, he only does it 60% of the time, so it was quite nice to see. But I think, like, from a prop point of view and from a hooker point of view, I think we're in a great space. Like, it's actually disgusting.
I think all around we're good. Coming back to the World Cup past, let's have a look at couple of awards.
Actually,
Oh, did you make notes?
I'm not. We were trying hard to find like what would be some good ones to do and
some notes
and stuff like that. And obviously, we wanted to be a little bit prepared. But you've obviously prepared some, so.
Oh yeah.
We're in
John, my notes.
Yeah.
I'm still sleeping off my hangover. So.
Well, that's not. The Springboks they're trying to drink their hangover away.
I think let's start. We'll start nice and easy and just
give
go.
it to him, because you can answer.
We can all go.
Huh?
Have a go. Man of the tournament.
You go first. I'm thinking.
I've only watched Springbok games.
Every answer can be a Springbok player. We won the World Cup. There's no wrong answer.
I would say who I really enjoyed watching was Colby. And I was like a little bit sad when he got injured, and I was very happy that he came back and obviously scored in the final.
Player of the tournament. Tournament or
let's say player of the tournament.
Player of the tournament, everyone, all teams.
I think the person that had the most impact for the longest period and did the best for their team, I think, was Damien Delendi. It's between him and Siya honestly, and maybe the Beast.
I've got two.
A little bit biased with the Springboks.
It's tough, but it's between two for me. I think Peter Steff and Dwayne Vermeulen.
Okay.
It's just like I just look at the amount of work that those two put in, and I'm not even taking off the field stuff. I just think that also the amount of guidance that I'm probably favouring Dwayne a bit more, and that's just like. Coming back into the setup, yes, he's experienced, man, but like the work that he actually did this World Cup, and he never looked flat. I mean, except for the final. Other than that, you knew Dwayne was on the field, but it didn't really feel like Dwayne was doing a lot of extra work. It seemed at times.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a spanner in, because we're obviously quite favouring the Boks. Pick a player of the tournament outside the Springboks, or most influential player for their team.
Bowden. Fuck, he was phenomenal at 15.
He was. I think, yeah, that's a good one. I think that one of the best performing players this tournament was Owen Farrell. I thought what he did as a leader and how he was always involved in every single one of the England games, and they put a foot wrong in the final because they were getting absolutely pumped backwards. But I thought the value he added, especially as a captain, when he struggled as a captain in South Africa when they were here, I thought he was really good. Also,
so let's do this. We'll put 4 names on Twitter for people to vote for. So we'll put Farrell, Barrett, and each one needs to pick a South African player.
I'll take Dwayne.
Damien.
We'll see what the people say.
Nice.
Okay, and let's go to the next one. All of us can do this. One moment of the tournament. What's the one moment that like stuck out for you?
Are we doing a tackle of the tournament?
I can't remember any tackle.
Okay.
You can have a tackle. But moment of the tournament.
I've got 2.
Say like one moment that like stuck out. You can go.
So the first was again Jason Colby with that try.
Which one? But the one in the
I know
final.
which one.
Sorry, the final.
Where he stepped Farrell and another four other Oaks. Freaking sick, man.
Just so shows what happens when he tries to tackle with his arms. Clearly doesn't work. So that would be one, but I think my favorite is actually Faf meeting the Prince. That was incredible.
In his pedonky.
In his underwear, South African undies with a beer.
And you know that the Prince got buffaloed when he said shit.
Yeah.
I think it was Francie that called him.
And
out.
I saw one
and then
clip
he still
where
went to the camera and
where he's like, no, not in front of the camera. He just had one sip. The Queen Mother would not approve. Yeah, so I think the Faf one has to be my favorite.
Okay.
My moments of the tournament, besides the Colby one, but I know we've selected it, so I'm happy to pick another one. My moment of the tournament was Japan.
Oh, damn it.
You looked at me to come back the call because you want to come out with the trump card at the end.
No, it's just there was one
So
specific
Japan
moment.
as a whole, or Japan beating Ireland, I don't care.
That was my one.
Maybe even Japan, literally as a country, because everything
yes.
I saw was just positive.
Yes,
like
that's a good one.
no shit, the entire
Japan,
World Cup.
the country.
Yeah,
I think that
give it to them again next time.
that Ireland flip, that win over Ireland, the scenes after that win over Ireland, or just that game. First of all, the game against Ireland,
Yes.
and then the scenes afterwards on that pitch was just.
Uruguay and with a massive shot as well for beating Fiji.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Same, it's on the same for me, but I like that whole Japan as a whole, like their rugby, their supporters, just the country.
Yeah, it's gonna take
It's going to take some beating.
some beating to beat that World Cup.
There's no ways France will do it. Firstly,
No.
So we're gonna have to.
If France are knocked out, you'll be able to get tickets easily for games.
Yeah.
I can tell you that now.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, France can't even organise their own fucking camp in rugby or
So
football.
French.
Can they please have no drama for one World
I'm
Cup?
sure there's going to be some sort of riots going on. And
Shockey really wanted this one, so he's gonna start with this, the Thanks for Coming award.
Yeah, it's a bit negative because it's the one oak that, or the one moment or team that didn't really like. So mine is actually going to go to Scotland because they literally they just didn't pitch up. It was like Scotland were going to be in with the mix, and then Japan came to the party, and Ireland were like fighting out, but Scotland just didn't seem to arrive.
You're gonna say Scotland, and I'm gonna go the Irish. Thanks for coming.
Both in the same group, eh?
as well.
Because they were it was like this whole build up, especially after beating the All Blacks at home, and there was that whole thing that preparation is good, this is one of the best times they can win a World Cup. We got Murray, Sexton, and
And it didn't even make us.
no one even I'm still wondering where Johnny Sexton is. Listen,
I will say something. I'm such a big fan, but CJ Thunder didn't have a great World
no,
Cup,
he didn't.
and that sucks. And the other thing is where Ireland really struggled is, and it was purely in their last game when they got knocked out, but not having Bundy Archie at 12.
Yeah.
For me is like, if we didn't have Damien Delendi, I feel that we would be as lost because of just what he does. It's route one, it's go forward, it's front foot, and you're fine. I think they struggled without him there.
I'll do something a little bit different. What is that Welsh guy? I think his surname's Ball. When Faf laughed in his face. Laughing in the face of danger.
But can I
Thank you
tell
for
you,
coming.
do you know what the best part about that whole thing is when Ball grabs him, then Faf looks around and grabs another one. Come in, let's make this a party. I couldn't believe it. It's like, maybe if I hold this guy, he can't give me I'm not going to get a stray left hook or something.
But you know what that is? That's that typical that guy at school that knows all his mates are behind him. So if he starts yapping, he knows he might get clocked, but the guy that clocked him is going to come off way worse.
And
I
it was
love when he
interesting.
grabbed the other guy. He was like,
I tried to watch that clip. Show that clip to one of our developers today at work, and I just googled something to do with Faf, And then the World Cup on their website, they had this video of Faf, the giant slayer or something like that. They didn't have that in the video.
No!
So I was like, oh, it's probably because it looks bad for the game. Or I was like, dude,
amazing.
that was crazy.
Did like that.
So that's my shout.
We're going to go award that Ryan loves, especially during hockey finals, is he like Dick of the Day, but we're going to go Dick of the Tournament.
Well, I don't like the award. People like giving me the award.
You've owned it. You've owned that award.
I've scored hat-tricks.
And got it.
And gotten. And the one day, who was it? Oh, the one day I lost out on man of the match. Scored a hat-trick. Lost out on man of the match with 1 vote. End up getting Dick of the Day.
Probably by 1 vote.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line.
No, I think everyone. No, it's
unanimous.
Yeah, it's a tsunami. As soon as someone nominates me, then it's just okay, cool. Might as well go.
So mine's gonna go to a pretty decent shot, but Sebastian Vahamahina from France, who gave Wainwright the good little smash in the face there and got sent off.
That's a good shot.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other red card. Lavanini.
When he took out Farrell. I'm surprised he got it because he took out Farrell. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But I just think that game
You
was...
can give him man of the tournament for that.
Listen, he did his country proud by knocking Farrell's head off. But
he didn't, because Farrell's like, oh, let's go.
But I think it was a game that Argentina wasn't out of it at that point in time. I think they were giving England a good run.
Mm.
There were a couple of points in it, really could have gone either way, and he went to go do something.
Do you know Mallet called
so stupid before
the kickoff? Mallet's like, they've got a disciplinary problem. Don't be surprised if Lavanini gets sent off.
Yeah.
He goes to smash like, I'm like,
no, that's not like. But if
I'm going to see Mallet walk around the studio going 50 rand, 50 rand, 50 rand.
But we saw that in Super Rugby. I mean, he had a problem in Super Rugby already with his discipline.
RGs as a whole do that though, but he's always
but
he's got that enforcer role, so he wants to go and smash guys back.
It's almost like the coach goes, you see him, go, go. And he's the one and he doesn't think, he just does. And I'm not saying that Argentina would have beaten England that day. I'm just saying that was...
Just would have made it a better shot.
Yeah.
It ruined a good...
You're never improving your chances when you get sent off. Yeah. I would actually go for Dick of the Tournament, everyone, for making such a big scene about that photo of the ref with the France red card when he posed
paper.
With the
it's a great shot.
Welsh
little bit of a
paper with a photo afterwards.
I thought
He's
that
the
was
Dick of the Day, World Rugby, for standing him down.
World Rugby.
That's flipping brilliant. That's the best.
I think World Rugby gets that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that.
I thought that was so ridiculous. Like, come on, guys having a laugh. It was a good call. It's not like he...
It wasn't like he did it before the game.
It wasn't contentious.
Yeah.
But also, it's not a contentious, like, no one's going there going, ooh, maybe that's a yellow.
Yeah.
You know,
Then completely different story.
That's
man.
a great one.
That's the clearest red card you'll see.
World Rugby gets one.
Yeah.
Nice.
They get to win that one.
Very nice.
Hands down. Sharky really wants to tell us his tackle of the tournament. I actually cannot think of one.
I'm out for this one.
I actually...
The tackle of the tournament for me, without a shadow of a doubt, was Wales versus Australia, when Kerevi broke down the left wing and Dan Bigger put him into touch.
Ooh, that is a good one.
That was, if Kerevi was going to score, there's no doubt about it, and that game was on the hinge. It was seesawing a little bit. That Dan Bigger tackle on Kerevi basically saved them the game.
I can't think who it was now, but I think it was New Zealand. In the New Zealand-England semi-final, there was a massive tackle in the corner as well. It was
Henry Slade.
I think so.
Slade, and they looked up for a bit of shoulder.
But it was
touch and go.
It was touch and go, but it was flying down the wing, and it was. I think if they score that try,
who were they playing against?
It was the New Zealand test. I'm pretty sure that
Really?
semi-final.
Yeah.
I think it was that one.
Who did they play in the quarters?
Quarters they played.
Ireland. No, they didn't.
No, Slade.
Sorry.
Slade plays for England.
No, man. I thought England played Ireland. Who did England play in the quarters?
They played Oz. They knocked Oz out. They knocked New Zealand out.
That's right.
Go to us.
Oh, so that Australia-Wales
'cause
one
they were
was
looking to
was
do
in
the
the
whole-
pool
was in the
stages
pool
that
stage,
to
yeah.
settle
Yeah.
the thing. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. But yeah, I do remember it.
I remember it so vivid. I remember like
They
someone
went upstairs,
flying,
but it was key.
and it was flying down the wing, and it was in the corner. It was like the flag was out in front of him, and he just.
I actually thought that was a shoulder charge, to be fair. I thought
But-
he might get a penalty for it. I didn't think it would be a card.
But yeah, I just think that's just one incident that sticks in my mind. And then, unless you want to give the two Italians that dumped Dwayne on his head a tackle,
There's a good dick of the day for that.
there we go. But they were never in that game anyway. After before that,
Yeah,
so
but yeah, I think those tackles were important, but there were some massive hits in this tournament. Eh?
that's what I say. There's so many to think of, like big. If I think big pounding like massive hits. Fiji probably had a few as well.
Surprise, surprise.
Took a few heads off.
Well, we'll put. You guys can think of one or two more, and we'll put it all on.
We can go find it. I'm sure
On a
easy to
little
find a
poll.
compilation. We can make a call.
There must be a big hits
Yeah.
compilation somewhere.
Totally.
And then we're gonna go to, let's say, coach of the tournament.
Just of this tournament.
Of the tournament, not the year, not the whatever.
It's a three-way split. I'm
Yeah.
struggling.
It's
Well,
tough.
it's a two-way split because the two played in the final and one got the better of the other one purely on tactics and obviously execution.
I was gonna also mention Eddie Jones, but I think he's a bit of a dick, so I'll say Rassie.
Yeah, but see,
Love
this
it.
is the thing. We've got to make these calls without Eddie
No,
Jones
you
for
can
me.
You can make your own calls. Yeah.
Eddie Jones for me
I don't
was
know.
a different
I
England
don't
to
know
this World
enough
Cup
about
that we'd
rugby
never
to-
seen
to
before,
base my score
and
on anything
they cruised through the whole way to play in the final. Eddie Jones did a phenomenal job.
I'm gonna throw outside. I'm saying Jamie Joseph.
Between
Japan.
it's between Rassie and Joseph for me.
To think of, yes, from the last World Cup, Japan have improved a hell of a lot since the last World Cup, but also to go into a pool where they've got to play against a very, very inconsistent normally inconsistent Samoan side, which, let's all be fair, depending on which team rocks up on the day, they have the firepower to
Yeah.
blow Japan away.
Depending on
They
whether they
can,
wanna fight
even though
for
they
the
were in
rugby.
bad form coming into the tournament, but if they pitch up, they can blow them away. To put away two tier 1 nations in a group stage,
They beat
And-
Scotland and Ireland in one tournament. I mean,
and then to keep the box to go down, you at halftime you're down by 2 points against the box.
you go down fighting properly.
I think
It'd be difficult to it's between Joseph and Rassie and Eddie Jones in a third place for me.
I just didn't go Rassie, just for the fact that yes, we won the tournament, and that's we look at it from a year and a half back where we were to what he's done with us. I just look at the tournament wise, and I'm like, I think you could have expected. A lot of people did call Japan will be a problem in that group, and they'll cause people problems. But I don't think anyone really
They were
sat
going to
there and
finish
went,
second. They were going to finish behind Ireland. That's the problem they were going to
Yeah.
cause. It was that last game against Scotland that was the
Scotland.
hinge bet.
Exactly.
No, it wasn't.
No.
So, it's between, I just don't know who the other coaches, but those three for me. But it's difficult. It's hard. I can't give.
I think it's
someone else
worth
besides
putting those
Rassie.
three into seeing.
Yeah.
Joseph,
That's the thing with a
Jones,
tournament
and-
like that. You kind of have to give it to the winner almost.
But especially because tactically, Rassie, the way he went about it and the way he changed and managed the final when it counted was key. And then the way Joseph, you can't not, how he managed his whole tournament was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And made, Rassie broke records with the Springboks and Joseph broke records with Japan. And those Oaks would feel like they won the World Cup. They made the
100%.
quarterfinals. And then they lost to the eventual champions.
At the end of the day, they're going to look and be like, you know what?
Huge success.
We lost to the guys that actually ended up winning the World Cup. So
Well, we didn't just win it. We won.
but I'm saying that's what they're going to look at it. That's where
Yeah,
they're going to go. We did the best. We were first Asian team to make a knockout match in the World Cup. So I think they've ticked all their boxes. Now for them, you got to look at it as that if they keep the same coaching staff,
Where can they go from now? Yeah.
how far do they go, or is this really?
Also, it'll be interesting to see how much of that was also just the fact that it was at home, and obviously you got a lot more to play for. when after the tournament go play somewhere else, can you do the same stuff?
Those are all the questions we had.
Oh. You must
you
have
have
one
more.
or two.
Cool.
One or two you must have. Something.
What? Awards?
Yeah.
That was basically all I thought about.
Couldn't think of any other significant ones. I was trying to think of a few ones that would give away in hockey, but I don't think they really fit too well to.
Well, that's
Tournament.
most of it, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to cover?
No, I'm looking forward to the Lions tour already. We've got so much
It's only
water.
working 2 years in advance already. Like.
Yeah.
2 years.
Well, one
There's a lot of water under the bridge still, but
With South Africa or the Springboks coming back today, just before they arrived, Banyana left to go to Japan.
no way.
They're playing a friendly there. I'm not sure when the game is, but I know they left.
Oh,
They left
so,
today.
imagine they could have
So-
gone before the final and maybe gone to sneak in.
It would also be quite interesting to see the reception they get. Obviously, I mean, it's women's soccer, so it won't be massive. But after what happened now with the World Cup, could be interesting.
Actually, thought about it. It was actually quite a big week. I think. Think about it last week because like
South Africa
we
won the netball.
Yeah, we
World
won
Cup.
that in midweek.
What?
Yeah.
It's like some African champs.
No,
Was
it
it
was the World Cup.
No, we
It was a
didn't
World
know.
Cup. No, it was an African champs.
Definitely
It
not.
was here. It was here in the Velodrome. It was like African champs.
We did really well in the World Cup.
Yeah.
That was a couple of months
World
ago.
Cup became- So it's actually been quite a good spin. Now our fucking cricket team just needs to wake up.
the cricket team and Bafana need to.
And Cape Town hosting the Sevens World Cup.
Oh yes. That's a
22.
22.
two.
Sounds familiar.
That's
Yeah.
like four. How long's the Sevens World Cup? Is it a
It's
week?
every 2 years, I think.
No, but how long's the tournament? Is it
I don't know, because it normally over 5 days because
5
the
days.
women are done as well. And also our tournament now has now been upgraded to men's and women's one, which is
Yeah.
great. So it's a 5-day tournament.
The normal sevens.
Our
The
sevens.
World League.
The
So
Stormers
how does
are
it
going
work with the World
to
Cup
Stormers are going to the
sevens?
stadium.
Yeah.
Now they must start winning.
Yeah, you can ask Keegan, I've been saying for how many years that's inevitable.
I said it would take 5
got
years
so much
after
cup for it.
2010. I said it would take 5 years. So it took another 4 years.
Yeah, the whole thing there is you got to think of. It's not just the rugby terms. It's the suites, all those things that take because companies have
I understand.
bought into it.
You can always find an excuse, and there's no disrespect to that whole side of the business, but moving the rugby to that stadium is definitely the best move.
Oh, I don't think
for
anyone has issue.
rugby and experience.
My one-
for that other logistics and cuck them as deal.
My one problem is they're gonna have to fucking sort the parking out now, big time there
Like,
for rugby.
Dude, it's way better than Newlands.
I went to go watch a Chiefs Cape Town City game. It took me 3 hours
dude, we've
to
got
get out from the stadium.
There's a proper bus system there.
I've
you just
never
take the
had-
bus
I go
and
park in the
chill.
waterfront.
Yeah, I wish I had my city bus that came to like in my area.
So go drive down the Table View and take the My City in.
I've never had a
all there
major
for you.
issue with parking there. I go park on the waterfront. It's a short, lekker walk.
There's a good shout. You could
Yeah.
park at the Artscape Theatre and take the bus from the Civic Centre.
Yeah.
You've got options,
You
bro.
can have something to eat.
They need to sort shit out there though. There was
There's
3.5
nothing to sort
hours that
That's your
when
fault.
Chiefs came to town.
You take a bus, you'll be
I
fine.
don't know what you were doing, mate.
Yeah. Takes me 10 minutes to walk
And
there.
we had parking in the stadium.
Well, then that's because you're going to
Maybe
the
that was
biggest.
the problem.
Yeah.
You were too close to everything.
Maybe you just park somewhere and take the bus in and do the fan walk.
Next time we just park at his joint and we.
There we go. Come through.
No, let's
from
not do that.
All right, gents, let's wrap it up.
World champions.
And just for everyone out
Who
there,
would have thought?
not me,
But we did all back
Rassi,
in the final, so.
apparently.
Fair. He's the only one that counts. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. So going forward, everyone has been asking about, oh, you guys only doing rugby, blah blah blah. We will do other sports going forward. The World
Yeah.
Cup's done. We'll also still do rugby, but we'll do other shit as well.
The rugby takes a bit of a break now for Well, Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah,
rugby takes a bit of
Europe's
a
in
rake
full
till-
swing. So the Pro 14, the Premiership, the Top 14, and all those domestic comps over there are all properly in the mix. We'll get some of that rugby on our TV now. And then Super Rugby
Feb.
kicking off first week, second week of Feb.
Yeah.
I think it's the first week because I know for 2 years it started on the Valentine's Day
Yeah.
weekend or something. I think it's a week before this time. And
you've
then
That's when we're back, and then you only have international rugby again in June.
there's a Barbarians game coming up soon, and then the Six Nations in Feb.
So
Six Nations is going to be fun. Nuts.
there'll be a lot of other things to talk about.
Yeah.
The Six Nations will actually be pretty good because Wales are going to have a new coach. Ireland are going to have a new coach. Both Wales and Ireland are going to make significant changes. I don't know what's going on in Scotland. Eddie Jones in England will be the same. I reckon Eddie Jones Grand Slams the next.
And they're going to throw Italy away.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. I reckon Eddie Jones Grand Slam and England Grand Slam in the Six Nations 2020.
That's it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
y'all
was,
next week.
I really appreciate
Cheers.
the thing. It was amazing being on for.
We're not
the
saying
World Cup.
goodbye.
No, but it's just the World Cup slot is done. It's been flipping amazing.
No.
To finish
Now we're
with,
gonna
the,
find-
with the win.
always
Now we're going to
helps
find the
when you,
next one.
Well, no, another
We
one.
might have live feed off Monday's trophy parade, though. Who knows?
Yeah. We need to make a plan for that.
Got to take off on Monday so you can go in.
Don't really much worry about it.
Sweet.
Cheers.
Thank you.